Hello, Soul Tribe. I'm KamalaDevi, and today's question is if I'm in a relationship and I'm interested in going to the level 1 week-long spiritual, sexual, shamanic experience, this is an ISTA retreat, is it better to go by myself or with my partner? And I get asked this question all the time. And it's such an important one because this work is so transformative. And, whether you want to go and do this as a deep solo journey or to do it with your partner can make or break, your partnership. And, I don't mean to be so dramatic, but I do know more than a handful of people who have found that going individually or going together, if they didn't make that choice right, revealed, the cracks in their relationship and catalyzed, their separation, which, ultimately is always for the best, is to, when you're doing personal growth work, sometimes we grow apart, but we want both parties to be growing, and doing soul's work, and hopefully that'll bring you together if the relationship is in your highest good, of course. So it's a deep question and it's very nuanced. And I would say that the answer is it depends. So it depends on your goals, your partner's goals, and your relationship goals. And by goals, I mean like intentions and visions and potential. And so I'd like to speak into each of these, starting with relationship. There are many different kinds of relationship. In fact, there's as many different kinds of relationship as there are individuals, and when any two individuals or more get together, a whole universe is created between them. So I'm going to generalize grossly and say, okay, there's two big poles of how relationships operate. And then there's like everything in between. And one pole is that there are some couples that are best together, like they do everything together. They love spending 24 hours, 24/7. They love like staying connected, communicating, sharing. And that's just what brings out the best in them. And then there are couples who are better apart. They're separates and they have different hobbies. They have different communities. They have different interests and dharmas, and they complement each other. And being very separate actually gives them not just independence, but a lot of like freshness to them coming together. So there's these two poles, and then there's something in between where you might share separate hobbies, but you mostly do everything romantic together, or you go on trips together, or maybe you take separate trips, and then so there's hybrids. But it is important to note that as a relationship evolves, a relationship that started here might end up over here. A relationship that started here might circle back around to here, going through different phases along the way. So when we say it depends on your relationship, we want to look at where is your relationship? What is your style? And perhaps what phase it's in now, because maybe you've done so many things together and you're ready to stretch and try doing things apart. Maybe you'd always do things apart, and that your growth edge might be, staying together. And I don't always recommend that you make ISTA your growth edge because this is a profound, soul calling that has, it's not always has, it's beyond logic a lot of times when we feel called, and sometimes we feel called, I must do this alone. And it is important to kind of honor where's the relationship at, where's the journey we've been at. Maybe if the relationship wants to have an experience of being separate for the first time, ISTA may not be the best event to do that at. If it's like, ooh, it'd be a real stretch for us to do this together, there might be some other events that you do together, not ISTA. And I'm saying that because it's not something to be taken lightly. ISTA will stretch you. It will challenge you. It will provoke you. It's designed to bring up deep emotions. And so a lot of the faculty will tell you ISTA's done better as a solo journey because it's a it's a work a piece of work on sovereignty, as well as community and tribe, and there's a lot of experiences that are transpersonal. But level one is about knowing who you are, you know, the true self, all the way up, all the way down, and it will bring up deep emotions, and perhaps those are wounds, and perhaps those are unmet desires. And for some people to go as deep into the self, they need to not be concerned about their partner's feelings, not be interested, you know, distracted by who their partner's interested in, or even just they need space to do this work themselves deeply. And for that reason, it's often recommended that people go alone because it's not about relationship. On the other hand, there are times when, and there are faculty like myself who do advocate that, hey, this is a really powerful way to strip away old patterns with your partner, to get naked, vulnerable, to really reveal deeper, you know, wounding and hopes, and also shared vocabulary. When you get tools together, you can practice them together. You now can support each other on your path beyond ISTA because you have a shared experience. And so I recommend that when couples choose, you know, feel that they're ready to do it together, that they have a deep conversation, a heart to heart, wherein you communicate all your fears, all your hopes, and also, you know, your boundaries. And you do that beforehand. And then you have a way that during the journey, should jealousies come up, should insecurities, should relationship dynamics come up, that you have a way of pausing that and saying, look, we want to be really present for this week-long course. So let's set that on the shelf, like do the pre-work, create a frame, set that on the shelf. We'll come back to it afterwards. Because again, the journey is not about the relationship. So a lot of people who are in relationship and do ISTA end up doing 2 workshops, you know, one on themselves and one on the relationship. And they may spend their extra time during lunch or dinner breaks or working on how their partner's feeling, or caretaking each other, or taking, you know, and that's just natural. But it is important that you talk before ISTA, you have a way of setting it aside, and then you also have a way of integrating and grounding into the mystery school, into the way that this event will impact your life afterwards. So I often recommend that people have like relationship coach or therapist, or to support them in the integration, in the maybe the pre-conversation, maybe afterwards. But you know, all it requires is a deep self-assessment. It requires a mature communication, and being honest with yourself about how much you can really handle. Like, is there something that if your partner does, if they're going on to ISTA alone, like if you're wanting to send them to ISTA, to see them realize their full potential, to see them follow their dream or their calling, you can bless them and support them. And then there's a point at which you say, you know, the relationship will cease to exist if this line gets crossed. And can you communicate that clearly? And whatever other needs you have, because it's not the kind of event where you want to say, oh, talk to, you know, go, but text me all the time, talk to me every night. It's like you want to allow the person to have a deep, full, immersive experience, and that you'll talk to them on the other side. That's the way that going separate works best. So if, you know, I've given you, painted a picture of a couple different options, and the kind of homework is to have a conversation, you know, where you talk about your fears, your hopes, and your boundaries. And in that conversation, if each of you is honest, you might look at it and say, okay, looks like we'd be better off going together, or looks like, you know, this is your journey this time, and I'll go another time to another place. So I trust that you will learn a lot in having the conversation. And if you need support or have further questions, make comments here. I'll also include a link to ISTA, where you can see where upcoming events are happening around the world, as well as ones that, I'll personally be leading or facilitating coming soon. I'd love to see you there. Blessings.